So today I'm coming at you with one of the biggest topics that I always get questions on as a mortgage lender, which is when should someone buy their first home? Let's talk about it. How's it going, everyone? This is Andy Garrettson. Welcome to the channel. I teach people what they did not learn in school about how to buy their first home and invest in real estate. And today we're talking about first-time home buyers. Biggest things in our economy and in America in general is this American dream where, if you work hard and you want to have a family and buy a home, you can do that, right? Well, it's getting harder and harder for the American dream for someone to buy that first home. But sometimes I think it's just because of a lack of education and knowledge of what type of programs are out there for first-time home buyers. One of the biggest questions I always get is, what are the benefits of being a first-time home buyer? So today we're gonna go through them. The number one benefit that most first-time home buyer programs cater to is in regards to lower down payments. In the US, on conventional loans that are backed by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the first-time home buyer typical loan can have a down payment as low as 3%. Your standard minimum down payment on these types of loans is 5%. So you get that added benefit of putting even less down, which everybody knows is the biggest hurdle for first-time home buyers, which is coming up with a down payment. You'd actually be surprised of all the clients I've helped over the last years, the big hurdle a lot of the times is not the monthly payment at all. People can handle, a monthly payment of, $2,000, $2,500 to $3,000, depending on what price point you're in, but it's really the down payment. So the big first benefit is conventional loans allow for a minimum down payment for first-time home buyers of 3%. Even lesser down loan programs like my company has a 1% down conventional loan program. So another huge benefit of being a first-time home buyer, this one might surprise you, is better interest rates. So when Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, you probably hear me say those words a lot, those are the people who write the rules for loan programs for the US. They say that if you're a first-time home buyer and you make under a certain amount of income, and there's a couple other qualifiers, you actually qualify for better interest rates. And so as a first-time home buyer, you might only have enough to put 3% down on your very first home. Well, you also can actually have a little bit better of an interest rate and save money over that time simply because you're a first-time home buyer and you qualify for it. So that's something that a lot of people probably don't know. You might think the opposite. You might think as a first-time home buyer, they're gonna give you a worse interest rate. Well, no, the system is trying to help first-time home buyers. So that's another huge benefit of being a first-time home buyer. Those are the benefits that a lot of times, if you're a first-time home buyer, you qualify for them. Now, you have to qualify for other things too, like income qualification, credit, so on and so forth. But as a first-time home buyer, if people have this misconception that 20% down is the standard, and of course that's unattainable for so many people, but 3% is really where a first-time home buyer should start thinking about, getting financing to buy a home. Right now, the way that the mortgage industry and financing in general is moving, it's to open up new opportunities for first-time home buyers, younger buyers, and just to help people make that first purchase. So the system is not set up against you. You just have to know the rules so that you can exploit the opportunities when you see them. And that is where I come in. I want to be here to help teach you as much about home buying so that you know everything that you need to know, and so that you can be way ahead of the curve when the rest of your peers are still stuck in that mindset. And trust me when I say that I was in your shoes not too long ago. So the story of when I bought my very first home, I was about 2 to 3 years into my working career, and I just had barely enough for a down payment. And instead of going and buying a home in my area, I actually started looking at condos. Now, a condominium versus a single family home, it's very different, but condos are a little bit cheaper, so the barrier to entry is lower. I was able to get a really good first-time homebuyer loan and a really good payment that worked with me at the time. And so I ended up buying a condo as my very first home, and me and my fiance moved in, and we loved that place. But soon we outgrew it, and we ended up buying a home to move into. So just because I bought that condo and it was, I owned it, didn't mean I was planning to live there for 5, 10, 15 years, right? That was just my first home that I wanted to start with. And then when we outgrew that space, that's when we moved on and actually got a house. So if you're anything like me, you probably hate the idea of having a massive monthly payment on a mortgage. Well, here's an incredible hack for first-time homebuyers. This is a benefit that I call house hacking. So what is house hacking? It's pretty simple, but the idea is that when you go to buy your very first home, right? Maybe you're single, maybe you're living with, a significant other, right? But you probably have other rooms in that house. And house hacking is buying a house with the intent to rent out a portion of the house. Maybe one room, maybe a couple rooms, maybe like a garage space that you don't really use anymore as storage, or a studio, or maybe you build something out on your property or finish out a part of the house that then can serve as an income producing rental for you. So the idea is, if you have some big mortgage payment that you're really scared of, but you can at least get the financing for and buy a new home, use this hack to help you lower that monthly payment. That's called house hacking. So another amazing hack is super helpful for people who haven't bought their first home yet, is in regards to credit score. So you need a credit score when you go to buy a home. And the best way to build a credit score is to get something in your name that shows up on the credit report. So this could be a credit card, this could be any other type of debt that you've ever been on. But here's my hack. As soon as you can, you might still be in high school or just into your professional career, but have a family member put you on one of their credit card accounts as an authorized user. This will allow you to take all of that history and all that good credit profile and start building up your credit score, so that by the time you want to buy a home, maybe you're 25, 30 years old, you've had credit for 10 years or more, and that will allow you to be able to buy a home quicker. So if you're sitting there wondering, hey, this all sounds great, but what's the first step for me? I will always tell anybody that the first step is to educate yourself. Watching videos like this and getting good information online, there's a lot of bad information out there too, but find good information. And one thing that I do with all of my clients, no matter what stage that they're in, is something that I call a Smart Start meeting. Now, in a Smart Start meeting, you could be in California or New York or here in Tennessee. We would schedule a meeting where I would walk you through just very basic understanding of how to get a loan so that you can create a plan to eventually be able to buy a home. Whether that plan is, in 6 months, a year, 2 years, it doesn't really matter the timeline. I'm willing to try to help any way I can with that Smart Start meetings. If you're interested in something like that, feel free to reach back out to me. There's gonna be my information below, but that's my first call to action, is educate yourself and create a plan, and just try to stick to that plan as much as you can, and you will be able to buy your first home.